First and foremost thing was dealing with a qualifying offer and getting your 40-man set, top 5 minor leaguers up for long to keep them protected in the Rule 5 draft. No surprise, obviously, that Xander Bogaerts didn't accept the qualifying offer. That would have been a cut and pay for him. But on the other side of Baldy, I think some people thought he might grab that, pitch his way back in. He says no. They can and probably will continue discussing a long-term contract. But the frustrating thing is, and if you're a Red Sox fan, you've kind of been watching inactivity from this team now for the better part of the year, right? I mean, the movement of the trade deadline didn't do a lot, kind of straddled the fence there, and we know that didn't work. And now everybody wants quick action. Everybody wants Xander Bogaerts walking through that door. Everybody wants an extension for Rafael Devers. We know that Chaim Bloom doesn't operate like that. It's more methodical. It's more thoughtful, and we're going to have some patience to watch this unfold.
You know what's frustrating me, and you and I have talked about this. I've been a Chaim Bloom defender. I'm generally a proponent of the plan, and I believe at the minor league level, Chaim Bloom is doing it perfectly right. Build up prospect depth, make some low-level signings, try to develop players, be disciplined and not trading all of them away right away. I think at the minor league level, it's being done right. But at the major league level, the lack of urgency is starting to get to me, and I am getting a little bit frustrated by that, TC.
Well, it's easy to, right? I mean, the Yanks moved quickly on Rizzo, not just taking care of him, but obviously locking up Aaron Judge's best friend. You can make the analogy that that's Bogaerts to Devers, right? Get Bogaerts done quickly so that maybe Devers becomes a little bit easier. The Angels, looking at the Tyler Anderson thing, was an interesting contract. He turned down 19 point whatever as a qualified offer, and Digby is going to play 3 years to get double that. So that's an interesting deal. That's a lot of money for a reliever. I don't know. I don't know if it's a matter of who wants the market to set this up a little bit before making these moves. But, the days of the Red Sox having a lot of money and moving quickly are gone. They have a lot of money. They're not moving quickly.
Rob Bradford put out the other day that the Red Sox offered a multi-year deal to Nathan Eovaldi, and obviously we don't know the terms yet on that, so the money will dictate largely how we feel about that. And I said this the other day, I have no problem with Nathan Eovaldi coming back. I don't. I like Nathan Eovaldi. I think he's better than he showed last year, obviously, when he was injured. But Nathan Eovaldi to me cannot be this rotation's big move. This is a rotation right now that is older and has a lot of question marks when we talk about Sale and Paxton, and if you bring back Eovaldi, it's a lot of older pitchers with question marks. I need an A guy, and I don't have a Carlos Rodon, a Justin Verlander, or a Jacob deGrom yet.
No, it's exactly right, because listen, Paxton taking the $4 million player option is really good news. He's throwing in his 90s before the setback. It's been a long time, and he's been a good pitcher. Sale's been a very good pitcher, but he's thrown, 20-something innings in the last 3 years. And Eovaldi has, every other year, he deals with a number of injuries. So you can't tell me that that's the trio you're relying on. In fact, they came out last week to win a meeting, Brian O'Halloran, saying they are planning on Garrett Whitlock being a starting pitcher. So that's kicking over Whitlock, that's kicking over Sand. He's coming off a hip injury as well. Brian Sale is the only guy in the rotation right now, and Nick Pivetta, who didn't have great numbers, but at least took the ball and made 36 starts. They're the only guys healthy. I'm with you. I want a top 2 level pitcher at the top of this rotation to make me feel good. If you got a guy at or near the top of this rotation, the rest of that all falls into place. They'll have the depth. They'll have the redundancy that if one of these guys misses a significant amount of time with injuries, they come out. But I can't lean on those 3 with out-testing Whitlock as a starter to take me where I want to be.
Tom Karen, Red Sox insider over at Nesson Bruins as well. We'll get to that momentarily. You're listening to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM and FM, WDEVradio.com. Did you see Pivetta being moved?
I could. I could see just about anybody in that sort of realm. Pivetta, an Alex Verdugo, a Mitch Moreland. I think there's a fair number of established Major League Baseball rosters who could get moved. I think the guys who won't get moved are the Costas and the Bayo, the young guys. guys that they want to build the future around. But I could see the Bennigan move. I told you all along, and I'm a guy screaming in the wilderness about this. I'd love to see Pivetta as a closer.
Yeah.
I've always thought he's got the velocity, he's got the emotion, he's got the makeup, he's got the mound presence. I'd love to see him be the guy coming in. I don't know why, I always had sort of visions of Jonathan Papelbon when I see Pivetta come in. He did it a couple years ago in the playoffs, was phenomenal and extended to the, remember Heinz stepping off the mound as the crowd went wild in Fenway against the Rays. I think he would be a great fit in that bullpen, and you could always have him as a spot starter if you had all kinds of injuries. So I think he could get moved into the bullpen, because if you add a rotation guy and everybody's healthy, I think Pivetta becomes one of the options out.
It's interesting, too. The bullpen needs probably 3 to 4 pretty good arms. Well, the reliever market has moved pretty quickly. Edwin Diaz is already gone. Suarez is already gone. He goes back to San Diego. Montero stays in Houston. The Mariners just traded Swanson, who clearly was available. So the relievers, like the Red Sox need a bunch of them, and a lot of the top-end targets are already gone, TC.
Yeah, that's happening fast. And there's been talk that there were a couple of relievers last year they were in on, that they maybe acted a little too slowly and they locked up elsewhere. They can't let that happen again, because more than anything now, again, I think you're one starter away from feeling okay about the rotation. You're 3 relievers away from putting the bullpen back where it needs to be. And that's even with the potential of a Pivetta, with Tanner House, it looks like he's going to be earmarked for the bullpen. Matt Barnes pitching better, as we know. But Strom is probably gone. Wants to maybe be a starter somewhere. We'll see if they bring him back. They need to lock up at least 2-3 guys in short order and let us all calm down about the bullpen.
TC, I'm not angry about this, and I don't get angry about guys making personal decisions, but I do note that it's a little bit, I don't know, maybe odd that I read yesterday that Tristan Casas might play for Puerto Rico in the World Baseball Classic. He was just playing for Team USA in the Olympics.
Yeah, I know. But I guess you go with the option where the option exists, right? And you got to do what you got to do. And yeah, I'm not crazy about flip-flopping countries. It's one thing when you're bouncing around teams, and maybe it's because, he played there and maybe he wants to get closer to Alex Cora, proud Puerto Rican. But yeah, I was a little surprising. I'd rather don't play for a baseball classic at all. I wanted to have first spring training and get ready for a day job for the Boston Red Sox.
Hey, let's talk about the Bruins, who are still dynamite, on the ice and still a little bit questionable off the ice right now. Yesterday, the Bruins said they were going with an independent firm to review their vetting processes. I'm sorry. To me, that just reeks of eyewash to deflect blame. Like, if you bring in a player that has that many character flags and that many question marks, doesn't the vetting process go right up to the top, to the ownership group, Cam Neely and Don Sweeney themselves? Shouldn't they be the one taking the blame? What is there to review other than now how they handled it personally?
Yeah, I was, I don't know. I had a hard time sort of understanding what this is really supposed to do. Your investigation is in-house. If Cam Neely said we got to learn what went down, Cam Neely should be able to figure that out. Now, maybe this is ownership getting involved, looking at Cam's involvement in it along with everyone else, and want to get a fact. But I don't know. Do that internally. I don't need a public flogging of whatever happened. Figure out what broke down. Take care of admonishing whoever screwed up here, and move on and be better in the future. But yeah, I didn't like any of this. It prolongs it. It does smack of, as you said, eyewash, of sort of trying to say, well, look, here's what the investigator said, so we're clear. Yeah, I didn't like it. I want this to be dealt with and moved on from, and this just prolongs the whole thing.
We talked about this 4 or 5 months ago, that when teams move on from coaches, it doesn't necessarily mean that those coaches are bad. It just means that teams kind of go in cycles in terms of what they need. And I find it very interesting that the teams with the most points right now in the league are the Bruins, with a new coach who's a little more player-friendly in Jim Montgomery, and the Golden Knights with a coach who's a little more tough in Bruce Cassidy. So clearly Bruce Cassidy didn't forget how to coach. It is just kind of confirming what you said months ago, that teams just kind of go in stages in terms of what they need and what they'll respond to.
That's the Bill Fitch theory, right? Bill Fitch was the taskmaster who helped Larry Bird and the Celtics become a championship contender. But once that group developed into being one of the best teams in the history of the NBA, they didn't need a taskmaster. They needed Casey Jones, who patted you on the back and maybe sang a song at the piano on the road trip. And he ended up being the perfect guy for the next phase of the Boston Celtics. And I think that's what happens here. They're not, Jim Montgomery isn't this much better a coach than Bruce Cassidy. Jim Montgomery is this much better a coach for this group of Boston Bruins at this moment in time than Bruce Cassidy. Cassidy is the right guy for Jack Eichel, and that's so. Yeah, it's the right fit. I think that's management everywhere, right? You've had good bosses, you've had bad bosses. Sometimes they're just bad bosses, and you got to move on. Some guys can't coach. But most guys who've been around the NHL for a while can coach. You just got to find the team that responds to their style and continue to respond over a period of time. Bruins needed a new voice. They found the right guy.
Yeah, Bruins certainly playing awesome right now. TC, Tom Caron over at Nesson with us here on the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM and FM, WDEVradio.com. TC, we'll talk next week. We'll be on Thanksgiving Eve, so we'll have some fun. We'll talk in 7 days.
Sounds good. Looking forward to it. Thanks, Brady.
I'm looking forward to it as well. Tom Caron, our Red Sox and Bruins insider over at Nesson. Lots of good stuff, as always. We're going to get to the Tristan Costas thing in the next hour. Because, again, I'm not mad about it. Like, he played for Team USA, and if he wants to maybe play for Puerto Rico in the World Baseball Classic, I'm not mad about it. I don't view him as a traitor. I just find it interesting. So we'll talk and get your views on that coming in the next hour. But he also, TC, agrees with me on he agrees with me on the Bruins situation with the Mitchell Miller stuff, the investigation, just a bunch of eyewash. He also thinks it's frustrating that the Red Sox are sitting idly by in the free agent market as well. And the reliever market right now is nuts, by the way. The Red Sox might want to get in on this because they need, as TC said, 3 relievers at least to feel comfortable. Well, Eric Swanson traded today. Suarez signed again by the Padres. Edwin Diaz back to the Mets. You saw Nick Martinez go back to the Padres. Like, the reliever market is picking up, and the Red Sox are sitting idly by. Look, John Schreiber's great. You can't build a bullpen fully on John Schreiber's, on guys who you just kind of hope will pop. We'll be right back with more here on the Brady Farkas Show on DEV, talking UVM hoops.
This is WDEV, Vermont's news station, owned and operated by the Radio Vermont Group. From the top of Sugarbush, 96.1 FM, WDEV Warren and Waitsfield, 96.5 W243 Barrie, 98.3 W252 CU Montpelier, along with our founding station, AM 550 WDEV Waterbury Montpelier, streaming at WDEVradio.com. 91 years of serving Vermont, the friendly pioneer, WDEV.
Day for the driver who mowed down a Christmas parade crowd and killed 6 people in Waukesha, Wisconsin last year. Judge Jennifer Giroux.
Some people, unfortunately, choose a path of evil. And I think, Mr. Brooks, you are one of those such persons.
He tried to garner some sympathy.
I'm sorry that you could not see what's truly in my heart. That you cannot see the worst that I have.
But he ultimately got tossed from the courtroom for being disruptive. The LA County Sheriff's Department now says 25 recruits are recovering from serious injuries after a driver slammed into them this morning. Highway Patrol Assistant Chief Charlie Sampson.
We had the Sheriff's Department cadets in formation running north. We had a vehicle going southbound, and for reasons we're still determining, veered into opposing lanes and struck multiple cadets in that formation.
At least 5 are now in critical condition. Some have lost limbs. The cause of the crash is still still under investigation, but we do know the driver was not drunk. The suspected shooter who killed 3 University of Virginia football players was in court this morning. Here's CBS's Meg Oliver.
A judge has ordered UVA shooting suspect Christopher Darnell Jones Jr. held without bond. The 22-year-old did not enter a plea during his first court appearance Wednesday morning on second-degree murder and weapons charges.
U.S. military leaders say that missile that landed in Poland yesterday came from Ukraine. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin.
Our information supports Duda said earlier in his preliminary assessment was that this was most likely a result of a Ukrainian air defense missile. But we'll let the investigation play out.
That missile killed 2 people. Republican leaders are seemingly ignoring former President Trump's announcement that he's running again in 2024. Former Vice President Mike Pence told Face the Nation's Margaret Brennan he's moving on.
Obviously, it didn't end well. And while the president and I parted amicably, I believe as we look to the future that we'll have better choices.
Pence is also closing the door on January 6th, saying Congress has no right to his testimony. An actor gets hit with more sex charges.
I'm Vicky Barker in London. Britain's Crown Prosecution Service says it's charging Kevin Spacey with a further 7 sexual offenses involving 1 alleged victim. The 63-year-old goes on trial here next June over 5 other sexual assault allegations relating to 3 men. He insists he's innocent.
Spacey was acquitted of similar charges last month in New York. The Dow lost 29 points today. The Nasdaq was down 174. The S&P slipped 32. This is CBS News.
Dell Technologies Black Friday starts now with up to 50% off select business PCs powered by 12th Gen Intel Core processors. Call 877-ASK-DELL.
Folks, to say the least, it's been a challenging year for consumers, not just on gas and groceries, but vehicles too. At Memorial Valley Ford, that ends today. We have over 400 new vehicles either on the ground or in the pipeline, and we're ready to make deals. Right now, at Memorial Valley Ford, we're taking $2,000 off MSRP on any in-stock Escape or Explorer. When you combine that huge Memorial Valley Ford discount with factory incentives, returning lessees can take up to $3,000 off MSRP. That's right, that's $3,000 below MSRP. Also, qualified buyers can combine that with 3.9% financing. Or how about this smoke and lease deal? Right now, returning lessees can lease a brand new fuel-efficient 22 Escape for just $299 per month with only $3,900 cash or trade due at signing. The best part is you don't have to wait 6 months for your vehicle to be ordered. These 400 available units are either in stock or arriving shortly. Woo! The bottom line is at Memorial Valley Ford, we're not going to miss a deal. So drive from 14, 15, or 16 to Hardwick and let Memorial Valley Ford show you we know price matters.
The tradition continues. Radio Vermont's biggest buck contest is your chance to win a $300 prize from Johnson Woolen Mills Main Street Johnson. Wear it for a lifetime. Just correctly predict the weight of the biggest buck taken during rifle season. If you're 18 or older, enter by sending your name, address, and phone number to P.O. Box 550 Waterbury, email to WDEV@radiovermont.com, or register your guess at the Johnson Woolen Mills Factory Store, Main Street Johnson. The entry that's closest to the exact weight but not over is the winner from Johnson Woolen Mills and WDEV.
This is David Goodman. Join me every Wednesday at 1 o'clock for the Vermont Conversation, brought to you by VTdigger.org, Vermont's nonprofit news source. I'll talk with national and local change makers from the worlds of politics, social and racial justice, science, education, and the environment who are having an impact on our daily lives. You can also hear the Vermont Conversation at VTdigger.org or sign up for our podcasts. Join me and take part in the Vermont Conversation Wednesdays at 1 here on WDEV.
Want Brady to hear your opinion on the sports stories of the day? Text in at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show, right here on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Reminder, you can download the full show podcast after the show's over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and at WDEVradio.com. UVM men's basketball lost yesterday to USC by a score of 59-57. 2-point loss to the Catamounts against the Pac-12 team, generally pretty good. UVM, though, 1-3 on the year now, not that good. A few things on this one. I will be perfectly transparent with you. I did not watch this game. And I tell you that for the sake of honesty, right? I don't want to lie to you. Pac-12 Network is not on my cable list. It's not free online to watch it. I wasn't paying for it to watch only one game. I listened on the radio to most of the first half. I started to doze off around midnight when we got to halftime. So my immediate knowledge of this game is coming from the box score, highlights, written stories about it, and me listening to the first half. That said, UVM was down 59-54 and then hit a 3 at the buzzer to make it a little closer. So it wasn't as close maybe as the final score would indicate. Yes, they lost by 2, but it wasn't like they were beaten at the buzzer. They had a chance to win it late. They were down 5. They hit a 3, in garbage time to bring it closer. So let's start with the frustrations, right? I do have positives from this game, I promise you. Let's start with the frustrations. Let's just kind of get that out of the way. As we stand right now, you're 1-3. That is a frustration. We are not used to this team being 1-3. And while there are no more Power 5 schools on the schedule at this immediate juncture, it's going to continue to be tough sledding for this program. It really is possible to go 4-10 or 5-9 in the non-league, and that is not what we're accustomed to. That's not what they want. That's not what we want as fans. I mean, you're going to see Yale, who's really good, among the best teams in the Ivy League every year. You're going to see Iona, that won the MAC regular season conference last year and has Rick Pitino as its coach. You're going to see Toledo, which is one of the best teams in the MAC conference. You're going to see, good teams down there in the Bahamas tournament. Like, this is not going to be, we went 1-3, but we're about to run off 11 straight. Like, that's not what this is. This is a hard schedule. So going into league play significantly under 500 is very much possible if you don't clean some things up. The other thing that frustrates me is that you got beat twice on this trip when you had leads in the second half. Like, significant leads. Any team has to learn how to win. And I know these environments, they're tough. They're tough places to learn how to win on the fly. They're tough places to close games out. You're 3,000 miles away. You're on the road. You're against tournament caliber teams. You're against teams with McDonald's All-Americans in some cases. These are tough places to do on-the-job training as far as learning how to win. But you led by 10 in the second half against Fullerton. You led by 7 in the second half against USC, and you ended up losing both games. That is not desirable. You have to be able to finish. Again, you were up 57-47 against Fullerton, 15 minutes left and lost. And I think they were up 44-37 yesterday. Someone can correct me on that, but I know they were up 7, but I believe under 15 to play and ended up losing. You have to be able to finish games. And I understand it's easier to close out Binghamton than it is to close out USC. But if you want to win games at the level that we want this program to win games this year and beyond, you have to be able to close the door. You have to be able to stomp on the net when you have the foot on it. You just have to have that. Make shots, get stops, hit free throws. You have to be able to do it. The second frustration out of this game, it's really the same script that we've been talking about. The scoring depth for UVM last night, it wasn't there. And if you're going to pull upsets, and if you're going to win games that you're, quote, not supposed to, you need scoring depth. And you need your stars, say it with me, to play like stars. Like, this is, I feel bad repeating myself, but this is the truth. If you want to pull upsets, if you want to beat teams you're not supposed to beat, you need star efforts, right? USC could get away on a lot of nights with their star not playing like a star, right? They got enough guys there that if their star who averages 20 got 9, they could probably still get by. If your stars don't show up, you lose the game. And that is exactly what happened yesterday, which is exactly what happened against Cal State Fullerton, which is exactly what happened against St. Mary's. On Sunday, Finn Sullivan was on the bench most of the game with foul trouble. He didn't get double figures. He only had 2 players get double figures. You lose. Last night, Aaron Deloney's on the bench with foul trouble. He scores just 3 points. And yet again, you get only 2 players in double figures. Finn Sullivan had 17 and Dylan Penn had 11. No one else was in double figures. And Deloney having 3, that's a problem. This guy had 32 in the opener against Brown. I promise you he did. I was there. I saw it. He was 11 of 14 from the floor. He has the ability and presence. Right? What did I tell you at the beginning of the year? I said, guys that can light it up, they can tend to go cold, or maybe they can't get their shot off. I said that was a worry from the start, and guess what? We've ridden the roller coaster through 4 games. And I trust that come league time, Aaron Deloney's going to be consistent. This is not a huge knock on him. But if you're going to win games like this, your stars have to be stars. And we went from 32 points to, I think, 7 to 15 to 3 for Deloney. That's not the wave that I want to ride. That's not the wave that this program wants to be on. Another frustration out of last night. Foul trouble remains an issue for this group. Again, if you're going to win games like this, and if your stars are going to play like stars, guess what? You need your stars available to you. And for another night, UVM didn't have that. Aaron Deloney, why did he only get 3 points? He only played 15 minutes. Why did he only play 15 minutes? He had 3 fouls in the first half. You can't be that consistent scorer when you're not on the floor. That's an issue. Robin Duncan only played 24 minutes last night. That's a starter. Starters want what are they going to play usually? 30 to 32 to 33 minutes. Robin Duncan plays 24. So you have a top 2 scorer on your team in Deloney not available to you enough, and you have a top 2 rebounder and defender to you in Duncan not available to you enough, in the same way you didn't have Sullivan available to you on Sunday. You need your players available. It's total coach speak, but it's true. Best ability is availability. You're not on the floor because you're in foul trouble, then what good are you? And that's a problem, right? It has been a problem for the last couple of games. Another issue to take note of, Nick Fiorillo only had 2 rebounds. We talk about this team getting out-rebounded. We talk about this team having guards lead the team in rebounding. Nick Fiorillo is your starting center. I said one of my biggest keys to this season was how well did he adapt to playing down low. And, again, I'm not here to knock him. He had 9 points yesterday. Like, he showed up offensively. But he took 5 threes and only had 2 rebounds. He's playing exactly like me. I promise you, that is how I play. I like to stand on the perimeter, I like to shoot the ball, and I don't like to go muck it up down low. They're going to need more than me from Nick Fiorillo. 2 rebounds. Coach Brendan told me a long time ago, hey, rebounds, I don't care who gets them, just get them. And there is a real validity to that. But if my 6'8" center is only going to get 2 boards, and my starting point guard and Robin Duncan is going to be my leader at 7, I have a bit of an issue with that if it's happening consistently. UVM got out-rebounded again. It wasn't as bad as it's been, but they got out-rebounded by 8. In a game you lose by 2, getting out-rebounded by 8 can be a big deal. I don't know that it was the big deal yesterday, but it can be. Other things, UVM was 8 of 27 from 3. They didn't shoot that well from beyond the arc. I think they were 1 of 9, which is 11% in the first half. You're going to pull an upset, you're going to have to shoot better. That, I do believe, will come. I'm not quite as worried about that. It's a frustration from last night, but I don't think it's an overwhelming problem. And fine, at 1-3 and all of these losses, it feels like the non-conference schedule won't carry a lot of weight for UVM. I've told you I want good wins in the non-conference, and a great non-conference resume can help you come tournament time, and you've already pretty much forfeited that chance, right? Again, if you win every game for the rest of the non-conference, then sure, maybe you can, have the impress the tournament committee, but it doesn't feel like that's likely. You haven't beaten any of the big dogs you should have beaten. You're not likely to beat Miami around Christmas time. If you can't win any of those games, and you're probably going to drop another few along the way here, your non-conference resume doesn't become all that impressive, and you're kind of just destined for a 15 seed if you get to the tournament. And that's not what anybody wants. So we'll see what happens. I hope they do win every non-conference game for the rest of the year, and I hope they prove me wrong. And I hope they go 16-0 and then sweep through the America East and they end up with a 12 seed. But right now, we're not pointing to that. It is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. A texter says, is the men's basketball program overachieving? I guess you mean historically, considering right now they're underachieving at 1-3. Overachieving? That's an interesting question. I think that we as fans have become spoiled, and I'm guilty of it, right? Like, I am now basically looking at the regular season as a lock that they're going to do well, right? That's not a given, but I treat it as a given, and I think a lot of fans treat it as a given. I now treat it like every year they're going to be at least in the America East Conference title game. So I believe that we as fans are now spoiled by their success. As for overachieving, yeah, they're overachieving considering what they have. They do not have, at least at my last check, I don't have it officially in front of me, but at least at my last check, they don't have the funding that some other programs in their conference have. They also don't have the best arena in the conference. They're also far away. They're also hard to get to. So what UVM has built has become, I would say, an overachievement. Like, they're not supposed to be as good as they are. You look at Maine. Maine is dreadful. Now, Maine is farther north, and Maine is harder to get to also. Like, it has even more challenges than Burlington does. But Maine is awful. That's kind of what it's, quote, supposed to look like. UVM, I would say, has overachieved compared to what they have and what they are given. But we as fans, I would say, are spoiled by what they have become. There were some good things in this game, right? I spent a couple minutes on the frustrations, and they're real. There were some good things in this game that I want to get to as well. Number one, that was a tournament-type game, right? That game yesterday was good for your experience. Whether I'm talking about the experience of your next tough non-league game on Friday against Iona, whether we're talking about a conference tournament game, or whether we're talking about an NCAA tournament game, that was a tournament-type game. It was low scoring. It was hard to score. It was a defensive-minded matchup. It was tough. That game yesterday will benefit UVM down the road. 19 ties, or 19 lead changes, 12 ties. That is how tournament games are played. You don't see a lot of NCAA tournament games where the little guy's winning 98-96. If the little guy is going to win, 59-57 is the way it goes a lot of times. 64-61. That's how the game gets played. It gets played tight and physically. Last night will provide UVM with good experience. Number two, and I noticed this, and this was said on the radio broadcast when I was listening. Last night, and Coach Becker said it after the game too, last night felt like more of UVM basketball. Like, it felt like Catamount hoops. UVM prides itself on defense. It prides itself on making things difficult for opponents, and it did that much more so last night. I mean, holding a Pac-12 team, holding a Power 5 conference team to 59 points, that is an accomplishment. At home, in their building. Life was hard last night for USC. They had as many turnovers as they did assists. They only had 4 offensive rebounds, so UVM was much better on the defensive glass overall. They shot just 18% from three, 35% from the floor. Like, UVM lost that game because of their own offensive struggles and their own foul trouble. They did not get run out of the gym yesterday. And a hallmark of UVM teams has always been that they're not going to get run out of the gym. There's a reason why that St. Mary's loss last week was their worst loss since 2018. They just don't get blown out. They play tough, they play physical, and when you do that, you are in a lot of games. Last night, they were in that game, and that felt much, much better. That felt more like Catamount hoops. And then finally, I mentioned Nick Fiorillo. Well, the 2 rebounds thing, that bums me out. He did have 9 points. They are going to need that. I asked for him to average 8. He hasn't been there yet this year. He had 9 yesterday. He's a better shooter than 1 of 5 from 3. Hopefully he finds his stroke as we move forward. But Finn Sullivan got 17. That's good. Robin Duncan, the 7 rebounds. UVM had double the amount of turnovers with assists. They had 15 assists and 7 turnovers. That's good offense. Now, they didn't hit a lot of shots, but when they did hit shots, they were getting them off the assists, and I give a lot of credit to that. Yesterday felt more like Catamount hoops, and hopefully Friday at Mohegan Sun, they're playing Iona a little more like Catamount hoops as well. That will be a good matchup that I'm looking forward to. It is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. The best of Freddie Coleman is going to be with us here in about 15 minutes. I spoke to Freddie earlier today. I do want to get one more just kind of UVM generic note out there. And I'm a sucker for things like this. I was on Twitter a little while ago in the last commercial break, and I saw the UVM men's hockey team, right? One of their players and Coach Woodcroft. They were at their weekly press conference talking about their team, and they were wearing UVM men's soccer jerseys. UVM men's soccer plays in the NCAA tournament tomorrow. And the Catamount hockey team, arguably the most important team on campus, definitely the most well-funded team on campus, was supporting the UVM men's soccer team. I'm a sucker for this, but I love to see that. And it's one of the reasons why I love Coach Woodcroft and why I like his program and why I like Catamount athletics. Usually, in athletic departments, there's a lot of rivalry and there's a lot of jealousy, right? My program doesn't get the funding that your program does. My program should get the eyeballs that your program does. The fans don't come to my game as much. We're not as good as you, so now I'm rooting for you to lose. That doesn't seem to happen in Catamount country. It sounds corny, it sounds cliche, but I've been talking to Catamount coaches and athletes for the last 6 years, and it sounds true that there is not an athletic department rivalry. I played college baseball at a Division III school. Men's hockey was by far, the most attended sport, the most supported sport. The games were on television in town. They won the national championship a year or two before I got there. I resented the men's hockey team. I was their broadcaster, and I wanted them to lose a lot of games because I was jealous. Okay, the baseball team didn't get the fans that they got. The baseball team didn't get the coverage that they got. The baseball team didn't get the money that they got. And the baseball team didn't have the success that they had and all the things that come with that success. People knew who they were. People didn't know who I was. Now, 15 years removed from college, 13 since I graduated. I'm losing track of years here. 10 years since I graduated. I'm not afraid to admit that, but I am embarrassed to admit that. That doesn't seem to be the case at UVM. And for what it's worth, it doesn't seem to be the case at Norwich either. These teams genuinely seem to like each other. They genuinely seem to support each other. And I don't see a lot of rivalry. I mean, I was looking at it today. Todd Woodcroft makes over $200,000 a year. I promise you, he's the highest paid employee in the athletic department. Well, I can't promise that. I don't know what Coach Becker makes off the top of my head. But I think Todd Woodcroft makes significantly more. And it would be easy to resent his program if you were somebody else. It would be easy for his program to look down upon everybody else. And that's not happening. And I think that is very, very, very cool. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. Who's saying what? This Patriots game against the Jets on Sunday is far bigger than I thought it was. I'll tell you why. That's next on WDEV.
If a salesman walked through your neighborhood and promised you a cheap kitchen renovation, would you buy it? Of course not. You would do your homework, shop around, and come to the realization that a low price isn't always all it's cracked up to be. The same is true for solar. Hi, I'm Tara from Green Mountain Solar. With so many solar options to choose from, we want to make sure that you're making the decision that's right for you. With solar, you get what you pay for. If that low payment sounds too good to be true, it probably is. At Green Mountain Solar, we don't do hard sales or pricing games. We're simply here with quality products, professional installation, and a transparent process from beginning to the end. Plus, our local lending partner, VSECU, can help finance your project without hidden surprises. As your resilient energy consultants, we answer all your questions. We even tell you if solar isn't right for you. Get started with a free site visit. Go to greenmpnsolar.com.
Marvin windows are designed for unprecedented performance and exceptional aesthetics. Marvin's expansive window portfolio has every style you can imagine, all of them crafted with the highest quality material and the ability to mix and match across product lines that allows you to achieve the right form and function for your residential, commercial, and replacement needs. See our Marvin specialist at Sticks and Stuff and Swanton Lumber in Middlesex, St. Albans, Enosburg, Swanton, and Derby, or online at sticksandstuff.com.
Hey everybody, I'm Lee Cattell. Have your lunch with Brady Farkas and me weekdays on the Midday News Service. The latest local news, Brady's Sports Report, Roger Hill updates from the Forecast Center, plus business, interviews, and breaking news as it happens. The Midday News Service, weekdays during the noon hour on
gravy from the drippings and have it with mashed potatoes and veggies and all the fixings.
Bill McKenzie talks about McKenzie hams.
Well, first off, they start with a quality fresh ham. It's trimmed, and the curing itself is a overnight process. From there, they go into the smokehouse, and then they, after they're cured and smoked, they go into, they're packaged and put in a box and be shipped to the stores. Well, you should choose McKenzie ham because you certainly have all your guests raving about the taste and the quality of the ham.
McKenzie, wherever fine meats are sold.
Small businesses are the lifeblood of our communities. At Radio Vermont Group, we know that. We know that small businesses are absolutely vital, bringing a little flair to our towns and making them unique. And they make you happy to live where you live. On Saturday, November 26th, the Saturday after Thanksgiving, you can make a huge impact by shopping small on Small Business Saturday. One purchase is all it takes. So pick your favorite local business and shop small. You can shop small at Mattress Land on the Barry Montpelier Road, offering the best prices and availability in central Vermont. And at the Body Lounge in the Red Barn Shops in Stowe for the most interesting gift selections in northern Vermont, and with local products too. You don't have to buy the whole store. Every purchase helps. So shop small on Small Business Saturday, the Saturday after Thanksgiving. See all the participating small businesses at WDEVradio.com.
Thanksgiving, the day not only of gratitude, but a day of stuffing or dressing. Depends on where you live. I'm Gil Gross, and in this year's Thanksgiving Day special, we'll settle that debate on what to call that stuff or dress. We'll have background on the Pilgrims. Who were they, and why did they come here? As is so often the case, the stories more complicated, far more interesting than we might think. We'll also save you money on travel and tell you some delicious things to do with that leftover turkey. It's all on the Thanksgiving Day special from CBS News Radio.
The Brady Farkas Show now has an interactive text line, so reach out now at 802-585-3026.
Whoa. What did he say?
They have an expensive but totally unimpressive receiving corps, and they have at absolute best, at most charitable, the 9th best quarterback in their own conference.
They really said that?
Every damn thing is politics and race, and I'm losing my mind over it.
It's time for Who's Saying What on the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com. Who's Saying What? Brought to you by Vermont Laser Wash. That's Central Vermont's home of unlimited car washes. If you want an unlimited car wash, you know what it is, $20 a month. If you want just one free car wash, just text the word Vermont to the number 30 and then 400. Our show also is brought to you in part by Pro Driver Training. That's Pro Driver Training, Vermont's premier truck driver training school. As for Who's Saying What, Greg Bedard of the Boston Sports Journal, usually a Patriots hater. And he said something yesterday that I thought, when I heard it, I just rolled my eyes at it. It turns out he's not really that wrong.
The Patriots season really comes down to this Sunday against the Jets. I mean, you know, if the Jets are coming off a bye week, so that's enough time to fit Zach Wilson for a straitjacket and to drill it into his head, you are not going to let the Patriots beat us this week. Because if the Jets play defense like they are, and they just beat the Bills, and Zach Wilson doesn't turn the ball over and they run the ball, the Jets should win the game.
So Greg Bedard says the Patriots season really comes down to this Sunday against the Jets. And the Pats are 5-4. The Jets are 6-3. The Pats are in last right now. The Jets are in second by virtue of their tiebreaker with the Bills. And I got to say, I rolled my eyes out when I heard it last night. I thought, oh, come on, man. It's not a must win. The season's not over. They've already beaten the Jets. And you're not eliminated officially if you lose this game. But you know what? Greg Bedard is pretty darn on here. This game means far more than I thought it did initially. Right now, the New England Patriots have a 39% chance at making the playoffs. A 39% chance. If they win this game on Sunday against the Jets, they'll have the double tiebreaker on them. And their playoff odds will go up to 53%. If the Patriots lose this game, their playoff odds go all the way down to 17%. We're talking about a 36% variation there. And I do not want to be on the wrong side of a 36% variation. This really feels like it has a chance to catapult the Patriots season forward or possibly be the anvil that goes on top of it. I mean, you look at the last 8 games of this Patriots schedule. You look at the remaining 8. They are thought to be pretty darn difficult for New England. All right? You got, look, Vegas and Arizona, they appear like they might be wins, but Buffalo twice, Miami again, Cincinnati. You get Minnesota on a short week at Thanksgiving night with all the travel. You get these Jets. It's difficult sledding. Tom Kern of NBC Sports Boston laid it out.
But the road from here is way harder. Upcoming opponents have gone 44-30. That's a .595 winning percentage. 5 of the Patriots' final 7 are against current playoff qualifiers. Half of the 8 games are at night. 3 of the night games are on the road. And with this mishmash of teams in the playoff race in both conferences, seeding is going to matter all the way until the end.
So it is a tough road for the Patriots. This game is becoming much more of a must-win than I thought it was. Let's examine where we're at right now. Okay, the Patriots are 5-4. Last year they made the playoffs and they went 10-7. So 10 wins does not guarantee you in the playoffs, but let's assume that they need to get to 10 wins again. That would mean in order to get to 10-7 this year, they got to go 5-3 to close it out. 5-3 against that schedule. All right? Again, I can probably make the case that Vegas and the Cardinals look like wins. That's 2 wins. That's 2 wins that I'm calling layups here in this one. But again, to get to 10 wins, you need to find yourself 3 more games. If I beat the Jets, I only got to find myself 2. If I don't beat the Jets, now I got to find myself 3 of my remaining 7, and that's hard to do with Buffalo twice and Miami once and Cincinnati. Now, some of those games are at home, but I'd much rather be chasing 2 wins than chasing 3. This game takes on increased meaning for the Patriots, and we're going to have it for you on Sunday right here on DEV with our coverage beginning at 10 a.m. and the kickoff is at 1. But, yeah, I'm going to go 5-3 at the end down the road in this season. Vegas and the Cardinals look like 2 wins. Finding another 3 is hard. I got to beat the Jets, so I'm only chasing 2 the rest of the way, right? I gotta get myself to where I'm hopefully only chasing 2. The thing the Patriots do have in their favor, by the way, I will note this. Earlier in the year, I talked about how the Patriots' aura was gone, the Patriots' mystique was gone, the Patriots' edge was gone. You know, that died with Tom Brady. Well, it didn't die to the New York Jets. The Patriots still have a very big mental advantage on the New York Jets, and Bob Glauber, I believe in the New York Daily News, confirmed that.
Yeah, they actually are. I'm sure they are. They would never admit that. They hate the Patriots, but they're absolutely, Patriots are in their heads because as much as they try to just get ready for this matchup, the results always go against them. So that is a team that is inside of the Jets' head. There's no question about it.
Again, the aura of the Pats around the league is done. Belichick has a bit of an aura. The aura of the Pats around the league, that's over with. But their aura over the Jets, that's still a thing. And if you're talking about this game being a kind of season-teetering win for them, potentially, you're going to find out the way to use that to your advantage, bait Zach Wilson into more bad decisions, more frustration throws, get him out of his element. Right, he looked better last week against Buffalo, right? Or, they were on the bye this week, but last week that they played against Buffalo, you want to bait him into looking like he did against you at your place earlier in the year. Ralph says this is going to be a great game and should be close. Hidden yardage and special teams could be the difference. That is something you can say about a lot of games in the NFL. I'll be honest. I feel like the Patriots are going to blow them out. But that is just a product of me knowing that the Patriots have beaten the Jets, I believe, 13 consecutive times. This game is at home. I don't see Zach Wilson as a guy who can go into Foxborough and beat Belichick and win and win a game. If the Jets win, I feel like they got to win at 13-10. And I feel like the Patriots can find just enough scoring to be able to win a game. But I'm going wholly on arrogance and wholly on reputation here that I think the Patriots are going to smoke the Jets. But the Jets did beat Buffalo. And the Jets have beaten Green Bay in Green Bay. And that counts for something. They are better than I give them credit for. I have no doubt about that. But I do believe that the Pats this week, I believe the Pats are going to win. And I believe they can beat Arizona and Vegas. The question is, can they find the other 2 wins necessary to get into the playoffs? And this is going to be tough because after this Jets game, they're going to get 8-1 Minnesota on the road on Thanksgiving night. And I don't know what it's like to play in the NFL, but I got to imagine that is weird. You get a short week Thursday. You play on a holiday. You have to try to make the holiday week as normal as possible. And you have to go on the road. You have to go, a decent amount of travel. This isn't like going to play the Giants or going to play Philly or Washington or someone in your division. This is going to Minnesota with a time change in the middle of the week on a holiday, playing at night, and you're playing against a team that's 8-1, that has arguably the best wide receiver in football, that has a good running attack. I mean, that is going to be tough. You have 2 games in 5 days. This one's got to be a win because that one looks hard to get. I do not think it's impossible for the Patriots to beat Minnesota, but that one looks hard to get. So you got to get this one. All right, I want to mention something that's just interesting here. And I talked a little bit about this with Tom Caron, right? This year, we've got the World Baseball Classic coming up, and Tristan Casas, the Red Sox first baseman, is possibly going to play for Puerto Rico in the World Baseball Classic. Not guaranteed. He's on their preliminary list of maybes. And it's very interesting because Tristan Casas played for Team USA in the 2020 Summer Olympics. I find that interesting. He played for Team USA in the Olympics, and now he is under consideration for Puerto Rico in the World Baseball Classic. How do you feel about that? 802-585-3026. I'll just tell you, I find it interesting. I'm not mad at Tristan Casas. I don't think he's Benedict Arnold. I don't think that he's a traitor. I just think it's interesting, and I just think it's noteworthy. Because let's understand something. Athletes compete for different nations all the time. Sometimes they even get brand new citizenships just to be able to do this. This isn't new. I forget her name, but the woman who won Wimbledon this year, born in Russia, I believe lives in Russia, competes for Kazakhstan. Why? Because they will give her funding and training that Russia won't. She does everything Russian, but she competes under the Kazakh flag just because they help her out more financially. So, and secondly, the rules of the World Baseball Classic, they're pretty lax. There's like a lot of different ways you could be eligible to play for a nation in the World Baseball Classic. So, I mean, you can be born there, you can have a parent from there, you can have a parent that had citizenship there. There's a lot of different ways to help World Baseball Classic teams fill out rosters here. So it's very lax eligibility. So just because he played for Team USA, if he meets another qualification, he can play for Puerto Rico. What I find interesting more than anything is this. I wouldn't think that Team Puerto Rico needs Tristan Casas. Like, I think of Puerto Rico as a very established baseball nation, full of major leaguers. I would think that they wouldn't need a guy who has played, 25 games in the major. I wouldn't think that they would need him, but evidently they might. So the opportunity does appear to be greater for Tristan Casas to play for Puerto Rico than it would for the U.S. He would make the U.S., right? Paul Goldschmidt's on Team USA, and I could probably run down and think of 10 other first basemen that could play for Team USA. Puerto Rico, contrary to what I believe, doesn't really have that. Like Javi Baez, Carlos Correa, and Francisco Lindor, phenomenal middle infield choices. They don't really have anybody that could play first base. So Tristan Casas just might have the opportunity to play for Puerto Rico when he wouldn't for the U.S. So that's interesting. And then two, I'll be honest with you, I have not found, even with the lax eligibility requirements, I haven't found the connection yet between Casas and Puerto Rico. Casas was born in the USA, so it's not that. Casas's father is American, so it's not like a thing where his dad was born in Puerto Rico. His dad's side of the family is from Cuba, so it's not like they're Puerto Rican. The only thing I don't know is what nationality Casas' mother is. And Tristan Casas' mother died in 2007. So because she's been gone for 15 years, there's not a lot written about her. If she was from Puerto Rico, if she had citizenship in Puerto Rico, that would make him eligible to play there. I have not found it yet. And I don't want to speculate, but this feels like if his mother does have a Puerto Rican connection, then maybe it's a way to honor her as well. And I will never knock somebody for trying to honor a loved one, right? Like Ian Kinsler used to represent Team USA. He played for Israel at the Olympics. He's Jewish. He wanted to honor his Jewish heritage. He played for Israel. And that was perfectly allowed. And nobody gave him any grief. So I'm not going to give Casas any grief for representing the U.S. in this tournament and Puerto Rico in that tournament. At the end of the day, the World Baseball Classic is an exhibition. It is not the Olympics. It is not the World Cup. I love it, but it means a lot to the players. It doesn't mean as much to the international community as the Olympics do. And that's just a fact. A-Rod played for Team USA in the World Baseball Classic and played for the Dominican Republic a couple of years later. Manny Machado played for Team USA on all the junior circuits and played for the Dominican in the World Baseball Classic. So this kind of stuff happens all the time. This kind of stuff happens all the time. I don't begrudge Casas. I don't look at him differently. I don't look at him as a traitor. I just find it interesting and noteworthy. Texter says, Brady, it's part of the U.S., so not exactly a different nation. Big misnomer to call it betrayal. I said I don't consider it betrayal. I don't know. That is a good point, though. Considering that Puerto Rico is a commonwealth, I don't exactly know how the eligibility works, but I got to think there's some eligibility. I don't just believe that every U.S.-born player can go play for Puerto Rico. I don't believe that. So, yeah, and just like I don't believe that every Puerto Rican-born player can play for the U.S., there is a different policy, I believe. So I don't consider it betrayal at all to play for a different nation. They are treated as different nations. That's why they have two separate nations competing them. If the international community saw them as the same, Puerto Rican players will be competing freely for the U.S., and U.S. players will be competing freely for Puerto Rico. They are seen as two different places, despite the brotherhood of the Commonwealth. Steve says, I hope you're right about the Jet game. I am going, and I am scared. I just can't see the Jets beating the Patriots. I just can't. Doesn't mean they won't, but they've lost to them 13 consecutive times. Sam Darnold has seen ghosts, and Zach Wilson has thrown 3 interceptions. And the Jets just always find a way to Jets. I'm basing this on arrogance. I am basing this on history, and I know I shouldn't do that. The Jets have a great defense. The Jets have a newfound swagger. The Jets have some more offensive pieces. But I just don't see them beating the Patriots. Not this time under these circumstances. The Patriots might not be able to beat Miami. They might not be able to beat Buffalo. They might not be able to beat the Bengals. They might not get to the playoffs. I've been pretty bullish on them not getting into the playoffs all through the offseason. I do think they beat the Jets, though. It's the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, WDEVradio.com. The best of Freddie Coleman. 3.5 minutes of Freddie talking a little UVM hoops and a little Pats Jets as well. That's next on BEV.
Mackenzie Meats, the family tradition. Special memories are made when family and friends come together. It's a time to decorate the table, a time to look your best, a time to use your manners, and a time to hear the stories people tell. Good times and good food go hand in hand. Premium meats and cheeses since 1907. It all comes together for moments like these. Make it special. Make it Mackenzie.
The fall foliage blowout sale is on at Memorial Valley Chevy. Our goal here at Memorial Valley Chevy is to finish off this incredible year strong by making deals. Right, Pat? You got that right. Well, folks, right now at Memorial Valley Chevy, our 7-acre lot is loaded with new Chevy Bolts, Blazers, Equinox, and several hard-to-find Silverado trucks. And many of these Silverado trucks have plows and dumps and are ready to go to work for you. And because business has been so strong, our inventory of clean, one-owner, late-model cars, trucks, and SUVs at Memorial Valley Chevy is massive. And we are ready to do whatever it takes to sell them before the snow flies. Listen to this special offer for you just in time for winter drive. During October, come get your best deal on any in-stock, newer, pre-owned SUV, and Memorial Valley Chevy will include full winter snow tires for just $1. You heard that. Get a great deal at the fall foliage blowout sale at Memorial Valley Chevy, just past Stowe and Morrisville in the beautiful town of Hyde Park, Vermont.
I'm getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20. So am I, because I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
I'm asking about Prevnar 20 because there's a chance pneumococcal pneumonia could put me in the hospital. Age 65 or older, you may be at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20, a pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine, a Pfizer vaccine that can help protect against pneumococcal pneumonia in just one dose. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. The most commonly reported side effect was pain at the injection site. For additional common side effects and full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
I want to be able to keep my plans. So I'm asking my doctor about getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20.
Progressive presents today's to-do list for your cat.
Take a nap, meow till I get food, walk away from food, move to couch, see human, give cold shoulder. Take a nap, meow till I get food.
Your pet has a very busy schedule, so it's up to you to make sure they're protected. That's why Progressive Car Insurance covers your pets for up to $1,000 if they're ever in a car accident with you.
Move to couch, aggressively clean myself. Take a nap, meow till I get food.
Get coverage for your pets with anti-auto policy from Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Coverage for cats and dogs included with the purchase of collision coverage and subject to policy terms.
Here's a message just for the attorneys out there. So you passed the bar, joined a firm, or even built your own. Now are you finding out that you're doing more administration than actual law practice? Lexicon can help. Lexicon is a legal technology provider with over a decade of experience streamlining administrative tasks like timekeeping, billing, and more, so you can focus on maximizing billable hours and increasing client satisfaction. Call 855-4-LEXICON or visit lexiconservices.com/go to learn more.
For some people, all they need to know about weather is the high temperature for the day. But if you're one of those people who really wants to understand the hows and whys of weather, especially here in the Green Mountain State, then Roger Hill's Weather Classroom podcast is for you. Some of the topics I'll explore are the types of precipitation, global temperature averages, and tropical cyclones. Roger Hill's Weather Classroom podcast is available at WDEVradio.com, Apple and Google Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon Music.
Think you know sports better than Brady does? Text in with your thoughts at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show, right here on WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. Jazz with George Thomas coming up about 10 minutes from now. Earlier today, I spoke with Freddie Coleman of ESPN Radio, and Freddie Coleman is the host of Freddie and Fitzsimmons on ESPN Radio, and he's with me every Wednesday. I spoke to him earlier today. It's a 10-minute interview. We had some fun talking about the men's league basketball title game. We talked a lot about UVM. We talked a lot about the Patriots. I encourage you to go find the full interview online on the Brady Farkas Show podcast channel. I bring you the best 4 minutes of Freddie now. I started out talking with him about UVM hoops, talked about how UVM lost yesterday by 2 to USC after going to double overtime with Cal State Fullerton, coming up just short in the last 2 games out west.
Which means you're not that far away if you're Coach Becker in Vermont, because you're losing those kind of games on the road, and no one wants to start their season 0-3. But 2 friends of mine, Jessica Minetti, the head women's coach at Sacred Heart, and Anthony Latina, the head men's basketball coach at Sacred Heart, they always talk about no matter what, especially the young basketball team, you're going to have teachable moments. And Coach Minetti went through the same thing last week, being 1-2, and you lose to LaSalle on a Thursday, then you lose on a Sunday game when you lose to Monmouth. And she says with a young basketball team, it's a lot easier to teach them things from losses than from wins, because that gets their attention. So you get the sense that Becker, who's been a really good coach, and he's going to continue to be a good coach, is going to use those moments and say, guys, we're not that far away from being the kind of team I believe we're going to be. This is only going to help us the rest of our non-conference schedule. And also we get into America East play, which is going to be a little bit better than anybody could have anticipated.
And what's crazy is, like, it's not going to get that much easier for UVM, because when we go, like, they're coming back east now Friday. They're taking on Iona at Mohegan Sun. Then they're at Yale the following Tuesday. And then they go to the Bahamas. And then they get a couple of what you would think are gimme layups back after the holiday. But then, they're out to Miami after Christmas. Like, we're not used to this, but they could very easily be 5-9 by the time the non-conference is done.
And if you are 5-9, then you make sure that all the things you've done, whether you had the wins or losses, Brady, are going to set you up for America East play, because anybody you play in that league is not going to be anywhere near as talented as a Miami team that got to the Elite Eight last year, a USC team that many people believe could win the Pac-12 and compete with Arizona, a Cal State Fullerton that's going to be a force out there in the Big West. So all those games, no matter the result, it's all about setting up what can you do from January through February and March to get that automatic bid to America East. And believe me, no one knows that better than John Becker. And I guarantee you that that's the message he's letting his team know, that this is setting us up to say, okay, this is what we're going to have to deal with in America East, and we're going to be fully ready for it no matter what we've done in the pre-non-conference schedule.
Freddie Coleman, ESPN Radio. I only intended to ask Freddie one question about UVM, but he's always so on top of things, I just had to keep going with it. Let's get to the Patriots, who are getting ready for the Jets in Foxborough coming up on Sunday. The Pats are 5-4. The Jets are 6-3. The Pats right now, I think, have the mental advantage on the Jets based on beating them a couple of weeks ago. How do you feel about this matchup from your Jets perspective?
Well, I'll use the term sick and tired. And when is that going to happen, that you're sick and tired? When it comes to the Jets, who have not beaten the Patriots in the last 13 meetings, and you're the Patriots, where you get tired of people asking questions about when is this offense going to wake up, because you know the defense is really, really good. It's one of the best defenses in the National Football League. So that's how I describe this game. If you're a Jets team, you've had the off week to have the Patriots front and center when it comes to your mental preparation, when it comes to your physical preparation. And all this depends on Zach Wilson. What has he done in those 2 weeks to make sure he doesn't have the 3 interception debacle that he had the first time these two teams played this year? And when it comes to the Patriots, you know the defense will carry the day. You know the running game is going to be there. What have you been able to do to make sure Mac Jones and offense can get those kind of chunk plays? Because against a Jets defense that may have the best front four in the National Football League, I think the only front four better than them are the guys in San Francisco at their 49ers front four. But they can get home with 4 guys. If they're able to do that, then they can really have man-to-man principles in zone coverages where they're going to really squeeze your short passes and your intermediate passes. I want to see the Patriots can do that when that happens, not if, but when that happens. What can you do to generate a chunk play and try to loosen that defense of the Jets defense that's playing pretty well, especially on the defensive line?
That was the best of Freddie Coleman. Earlier today, again, I spoke to Freddie. I speak to him every Wednesday, right? TC I speak to on Wednesdays. Freddie I speak to on Wednesdays. Some days TC's live, some days Freddie's live. We've kind of played musical chairs with it, but love both their insight. The full interview is available on the Brady Farkas Show podcast channel. So Spencer asked an interesting question about Anthony Lamb playing with the Golden State Warriors. Yeah, he's carved out a nice role for himself, the UVM product. He had 5 the other day. Didn't see the Warriors are going to play tonight against Phoenix. That game, I believe, is nationally televised. Maybe I'll get a better look at Anthony Lamb, but certainly has matriculated well into the NBA this year after a couple of stints with the Houston Rockets. So I appreciate the message, Spencer. Again, full show podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Jazz with George Thomas is coming up next. We'll have the podcast up for you in about 15 minutes. We've fixed our glitch, and now we're back to getting them out as quick as possible. I'll see you tomorrow. Buster Olney of ESPN will stop by. A little more hot stove. Start to get a little more ready for the Patriots. It's coming up tomorrow on WDEV AM and FM.
Hi, this is Emily McKenna, and I'm here to remind you that Central Vermont Home Health and Hospice is open for business to serve Central Vermonters